A revolutionary. Say whoa. Trap revolutionary. Got the wave of too scary. Doing this thing like Malcolm ain't by any means necessary. We ain't got it by no one seen hand. We got the master plan. Get the move.
What's going on, y'all? Y'all want to do this video real quick, man. Just an update on Nolan Wells' case. So they made arrests, but not for the incident. Anyone as a suspect. They made arrests for people that they said have threatened. Like one of the witnesses, this 40-year-old, I believe his name's Edwards Edwards Jones Porter. Edwards James Porter, 40 years old, out of Illinois. So said he made a threat to one of the witnesses and also sent their address to them to let them know, like, I got your address. Basically, I know where you're at. So they arrested him. They arrested somebody in California. I believe his name was DeMarce, Joseph Alfredo Vasquez DeMarce in California, for threatening, I guess, a judge in Mississippi involved with the case. I don't know if that was Ashley Cole, Warren Hudson's mother, or someone else connected to the case, but they were arrested in California. Another lady named Michelle, I believe she is in Ohio. Michelle Francine Edwards was arrested for making bomb threats to Mississippi government offices. So they are arresting people involved in so-called threats, and they have not made they have not made any arrests in regards to the people so-called alleged his possibly alleged to be corporates in the case, possible suspects in the case, his so-called friends. So also one of the lawyers of one of Bart Edmondson Jr., his lawyer is basically threatening to sue, or has sued someone, I believe someone on TikTok, I believe, that had followers that made allegations, that Bart was, basically the one that ended up killing Nolan. And he, filed a lawsuit. And I believe it just, he's or threatening to file lawsuits against anyone that says, his client may be guilty of murder. So all of this is being done, it seems like, to basically threaten, to, squash or quelch any form of, any form of accusations, or, people, alleging anything that happened. People are speaking up about it, and just, voicing their opinion, their true opinion about it. It seems like they want to quell that, So I am just like, it is this point, man. It seems like it's just I don't know, man. It seems like, man, this is a concerted effort just to show, and also to show that, I think there is a, thought process. There is a a culture. There is a particular mentality and MO, like SOP, standard operating procedures, when it comes to black people losing their life or being harmed by somebody white compared to black people harming somebody white or accused of harming somebody white or actually, murdering somebody that's white. It's different actions that are taking place. And I believe what is going on is they're showing us that this is how we're going to treat the situation and you're going to respect it. You better not come with any threats, better not come with any allegations, you know, um, you better not even attempt to say anything because we'll file a lawsuit against you. Or if you think you're going to threaten somebody, we're going to prosecute you and lock you up. Even though the facts seem like they're not seen, the facts are leaning and leading to the true culprits of the matter, the people that actually allegedly did this, it's showing like clearly that they had something to do with it. The phone call, which they didn't even know they were being recorded before he actually got on and was speaking with the operator. I believe that was Warren or maybe Wyatt or whatever. I'm not sure which one it was, but one of the friends got on and was talking to the operator or the dispatcher or whatever. It recorded their whole conversation, asking was Nolan dead. So it's just it's funny to me, man. It's not really not funny. Like I'm expressing myself calmly, but I'm so upset, man, to where like I want to say some things that I can't say, because I don't want to reveal that. I don't want to, show that side of me, and then I don't want anybody to know what I have on my mind as well in that sense, because I'm frustrated, man. I'm beyond frustrated, and it's getting to me to the point to where, I really don't think it's any other way to get justice in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talk about voting and things of that nature, and that's fine. And I agree in a sense, but they are, and I made a video too about that. They have challenged, Section 2 in Calais, British Louisiana. They basically challenged Section 2 of the 1965 Civil Rights Act, saying that basically not they challenged it and basically was successful that the Section 2 doesn't hold any validity when it comes to voting districts or voting blocks, holding certain areas, for black people basically have some type of voting power. You can't, it doesn't have any weight in that sense, because that was set up so black people could have a say so in certain, voting aspects, called cracking and packing. You crack certain districts because you can break them up, and then black people don't have any power. Then you have districts where everybody's packed into a district where if they vote, they're voting for something like totally opposite of where it could really have an impact. So they've been packed into a district, and it's not going to do them any good because they're packed way over here, instead of in the district where it could, have an effect. So it's yeah, man, it's sad to where these things are being, used against us, right? So, it's another way to go about it, and and I know that, voting will be pushed upon us because they say that's the democratic thing to do, but it's been shown throughout history, when people want something done, they don't vote. They don't vote. I mean, they showed us that with January 6th riots, when they stormed the so-called White House, So, I'm man, it is abhorrent to me you know, that they will push that on us and push that type of response to say this is how you get justices or whatever, when they are chipping away at the civil rights laws, you know, and it continues to happen. You know, you can only go so far, you know, with the voting, trying to get things done in that sense, and people continue to brutalize you, you know. So that's a problem, man. It's a problem, you know. And even the sister, you know, um, mentioned that even dealing with the 14th Amendment, that particular citizenship that was afforded to us by the 14th Amendment, being, you know, considered enslaved in this country to have certain rights, you know, being that we were, you know, over here, we had a certain level of citizenship, you know, being that we, like I said, we were in the country enslaved or whatever, coming out of slavery, we had to have some form of rights, basically, you know, humanity in this country. And the 14th Amendment pretty much gave us that. So, you know, we're steady trying to get certain things in this country that have been forwarded to us, but they haven't been, you know, like one of the sisters said, she said, yeah, they have been ratified, but not enforced. So that's what we're going through. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, different places in the South. You know, I mean, it's other places in the North as well. You know, because you have people that go from the South, come from the South, go to the North. Same thing. People, you know, South come to, North come to the South. So, you know, and that 14th Amendment was a citizenship clause, you know, which said all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. You know, so, um, you know, which overturned, which said, you know, it overturned the Supreme Court's 1857 decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford, which had held that black Americans could not be U.S. citizens. And so the 14th Amendment was ratified July 9th of 1868. Like I said, overruled the Supreme Court's 1850 decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford. So, you know, we're still basically fighting for something that was ratified, but not enforced, you know. And these states, these southern states still engage in, you know, even in the modern, I said in the video as well, a form of modern day slavery through the prison system. You know, for a fact, I know Texas, they don't pay their prisoners. Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, don't either, you know, but I know for a fact about Texas. So, you know, and the 13th, what I have noted, as well as, you know, the film, the 13th, before I even saw the film, I noted, talking to my brother about it, that the 13th Amendment, the way it was written, it basically provided a loophole for the southern states to continue their slaveholding ways, you know, saying that slavery, basically voluntary servitude, is abolished except for punishment of a crime. So, you know, basically it provided the southern states a loophole. You know, like I said, to continue their slaveholding ways, but it's just a tragedy, man, and that we're still going through this, you know, and you know, I think that we're going to have a double strategy, you know. Voting, yeah, we have to use that, but also we have to use in every other means at our disposal. You know, voting is, to me, it's just not going to get it. You know, you do have to, you know, I mean, it's just what it is. You know, even with the so-called founding of the United States, the 13 colonies, colonies going to war with the British Crown, they didn't try to vote. They weren't voting about nothing to, oh, we're going to vote to get our freedom, to get our rights or whatever. They weren't talking about voting, So, it's a hard reality, that we had to face, but we have to understand as well, voting is one way, you know, but in certain cases you have to engage in whatever way you can to get your freedom, to get, people to stop killing you and brutalizing you, and treating you unfairly, you know. So that's the calmest way I can say it, man. And I'm very frustrated, man. About this. I'm so frustrated that it's just it's to the point to where you know I I have to be calm to not um, like I said, try to be calm because I don't want to, I don't want to offend anyone, but then I don't want to come off as, somebody that doesn't have control of themselves, But like the pain of the anger, the passion, the fire inside of me, to make this stop, man, is there, you know, and and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, for us to be free from this, free from the in which I said before, I just don't think anybody should be brutalized like that, man. Like over years, we have been brutalized, you know, and steady like stumped down on, man, and it's just, you know, at a time, it's gonna come to where we're gonna reach a breaking point, to where, you know, it's. I just don't think it'll be any more understanding, you know. Um, but I would just say that I pray that people are brought to justice in Nolan Wells' case. I pray that um, his family has closure. And I pray that stuff like this just stops happening, man, to our people. So anyway, I'm gonna get up off here. Um, it's just me, yeah. I don't know, man. Just frustrated about it. I'm uh, yeah. Just hope. I don't know, man. Just hope that that justice. You know what I'm saying? Nolan Wells. I pray that he receives justice. Um, and people are brought to justice in this case. So, man, I really do. Just pray, man, that really people are really brought to justice, man, and this stops, happening, um, to our people. Because I reported on, man, young Cohen Wiley, man, the young baby that was killed. You know what I'm saying? T.J. Davis, young man that was killed or found drowned. And his mother said, "Hey, I don't believe my son drowned." It's just, yeah, man. It's frustrating. It's just stuff like I said. This stuff, it continues to happen, and it's like seems like it's no recourse, for this, you know, to stop, basically to put a stop to this. It seems like it's no recourse to put a stop to it. That is what, that's why, I'm so frustrated. It's like, man, it has to be, it has to be a better way. It has to be, um, something, that can be done, you know, to where this no longer continues. Like I'm talking about an absolute end to it. It's no longer it no longer occurs. You know, so that's where I am with it. It's like, man, it has to be. To where we cannot continue for these things like to happen like this. It cannot. You know. Yeah, her name was Yamika Lewis. She was on Willie D's show talking about the 14th Amendment, and I believe she's an attorney out of Houston, Yamika Lewis. But it is, I don't know, man. It's a time. It's time, you know, to put like I said, it has to be into it, and we can't be to where it's acceptable. Like, and we say, okay, we'll vote about it. Even in that sense, think about what I'm saying, and not to say that voting won't help, but what I am saying is that we're going to wait to vote about it, and then try to see if we can change it. Even that is unacceptable because we're trying to vote and they stymie or they're chipping away at voting rights laws to where we can have some type of power to effectuate change through voting. So then when you say we're going to just vote about it, that's basically ineffective, So that's why I say it is even unacceptable in that sense to say we're just going to vote about it, Then you're trying to vote and it takes like years to vote and try to change anything in that sense. But I do say yes, vote about it, but do not accept being brutalized because you're waiting for the vote to happen or occur or try to, eventually engender change. So I would say that, man, take a serious thought about that. We have to like bond together as a people, man, because this can happen to Nolan. This can happen to you. This can happen to me. This can happen to your son, your daughter, your mother, your brother, your father, your sister. You know what I'm saying? So it's time to put a stop to it, man. It's no way, like, it's unacceptable, for this treatment to continue to go on. For our brothers and sisters to be mass incarcerated, killed by the police, found hanging, saying it's a suicide or some accident. It's time to like really, put a stop to it. So I had to get on here and say that, man. It's at this time it's unnecessary, man. It's unnecessary that we continue to accept it. It's unacceptable for us to continue to accept it. First and foremost, it's unacceptable for me to accept anyone to brutalize my family. I look at Carmelo Anthony. I look at Nolan Wells. I look at T.J. Davis. I look at Denoris Richardson. I look at Martravion Reed, Trayvon Martin. I look at them in my family. You know why? Because that could have been my brother. That could have been my cousin. That could have been my nephew. That could have been my niece. So think about it like that. These are not separate individual circumstances or incidents. Because the way they look at us is that we can do you how we want to, and you better not say nothing about it. We'll come arrest you, just like I was telling you about these arrests. And I'm going to say the names again. Edward James, get the names. Edward James Jones, Edward James Porter in Illinois, 40 years old, accusing him of transmitting interstate threats against a witness connected to the Nolan Wells investigation. Say he threatened to kill a witness, members of the witness family. He sent the witness the home address to their home, letting him know, I guess they had their address. Joseph Alfredo Vasquez de Marce in California, accused of threatening a Mississippi judge connected to the case. Then Michelle Francine Edwards out of Ohio, accused of making bomb threats to Mississippi government offices involved with the investigation. So they're arresting people, not suspects or considered suspects, but so-called that have made threats in regards to the Nolan Wells case to witnesses or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way it's playing out. You better not say nothing. We're gonna come get you. We have the power to do whatever we want to, to you. So, that's what it is, man. It's like I said, it's unacceptable, man. And I'm gonna do everything in my power, everything I can to make a difference and make a change. This situation and all others, man, dealing with our people, because it's like I said, it's unacceptable, and we should not accept it, being in any form mistreated in this country, you know what I'm saying, at all, So anyway, I'm gonna get up off here. I just want to say that, I hope y'all out there doing well, living life full of love and happiness, doing great, strive for greatness every day. I appreciate y'all. Like and share and comment on the video, my videos or whatever. I said before, we can agree or we can disagree. We disagree, we can hash it out, but I'm always be respectful towards y'all. Just ask y'all to be respectful towards me. But anyway, we get up off here, y'all. Love y'all. Till next one, y'all. All right, y'all.
Fuck it, go ahead and blow off the dough. Step through the maze, man, and became amazing. About to rewrite history and change the page in a crooked book that never told us the true story. Like how we were kings and queens before the slave story, before the killing, stealing, and drug dealing on some real shit. We ran the world.